The Second Birth by R. H. Brown, Medium. From the New York Spiritual Telegraph, Volume 4, Number 24, Saturday, October 13th, 1855. All the medical attendants had given me up. It was night, and for hours I had tossed in anguish on my burning bed. A fever raged in my blood. Intolerable pangs tormented me. The long, dark night crept slowly by. The moon, pale and wan, went down, and the cold and dreary darkness melted into morn. I heard the watchers whisper, "He is dying." A cool wind came and breathed upon me, and then a hand of ice seemed clutching at my heart. A sharp electric shock shot through my feeble frame, and my limbs tossed and quivered for an instant like the branches of a tree swept by a sudden storm. This passed away, and then all pain left me. A calm stole over my senses, a deep, refreshing tranquility, as sweet and holy as that which holds the shaded waters of a sleeping lake. I strove to speak. The crisis of my disorder is past, thought I. This delightful calm, this sweet freedom from pain, what is it but the sure token of nature's victory over the fell disease which has so long tormented me? I strove to speak, but my tongue refused to obey me. I tried to press the dear hand I had in mine, but in vain. I sought to open my eyes and look my beloved in the face, but I was helpless. All my limbs were paralyzed. I could not move a fiber. I lay as motionless as a marble statue. I am very weak, thought I, but presently I will be stronger. So I lay resigned, patiently waiting for the return of that vigor of which the violence of my disorder had robbed me. The sudden transition from acute anguish to a state of calm and painless tranquillity produced the most delightful sensations. Cheerful and contented in spirit, I lay dreaming of the future. The daylight grew stronger, and the sun shone brightly through the window. I knew this, though my eyes were closed, for a soft, rosy cloud floated before them, and I heard without the mating of the birds. The songs of the birds ceased, and all was silent, save the distant tolling of a bell, which with a sweet and mournful sound fell faintly on my ear. It reminded me of the grave, and I thanked God who had broken the violence of my disorder and rescued me from death. At length someone came into the room. I heard their soft footsteps stealing over the threshold. They came and stood beside my bed. They folded my hands upon my breast, and then one said to the other, "He is dead." The whispered words fell like thunder upon my ear. "He is dead." Can they mean me? No, I am not dead. I thought of the tolling bell I had heard, and said to myself, it is someone else of whom they speak. I listened. All was silent for an instant, and then I felt the tears of her I love falling on my face. Her long dark hair trailed upon my brow, and her kiss was on my lip. Sobbing, she fell upon my breast, and then the others whispered together and bore her away. Ah, now I knew that I was dead. For a moment all reflection was lost. Amazement and wonder froze my faculties into inaction, but soon the instinct of reason awoke and roused my mind from its lethargy. Dead? Can I be dead? I asked myself. I tried to move, but my limbs were rigid and immovable as iron. I tried to ascertain whether my heart beat, but I could feel no sensation which indicated its action, and my hands, folded upon my breast, could not detect the slightest sensation. I was not even conscious of breathing. My chest was motionless, and my blood seemed to stand still in my veins. But I thought and reasoned as clearly as ever. I could feel when my body was touched. I was conscious of the draught of air from the windows open at my bedside, and my ears conveyed with the greatest clearness and precision every sound which occurred in the room, the soft footsteps of those who stole about the apartment, their whispered words, the ticking of my watch which lay on the bureau, and the faint tolling of the bell without, all were distinctly heard. Gradually a terrible idea stole upon me. I tried to fight it off, but it would come and stand before me, compelling my assent. I am not dead, but in a trance, and, oh God, they will bury me alive. Filled with horror, I again strove to speak, to cry out, to move, but in vain. My will was powerless. Its scepter had been taken away. Its commands were no longer obeyed. For hours, it seemed years, I lay filled with terrible apprehensions. I listened to every sound, and my fears clothed the slightest noises with horrible significance. My imagination reveled in gloomy anticipations, and I pictured to myself again and again the terrors of a living tomb, and the fearful return to animation which awaited me in the grave. They apparelled my body for the tomb. Despair took possession of my soul, and yielding up all hope, I resolved to bravely meet my fate, suffer and die. This was followed by a feeling of apathy, almost amounting to unconsciousness. How long I lay in this state I know not, but after a time my attention was attracted by a curious change which was progressing within me. A cluster of beautiful colors, blue and purple, mixed with fringes of golden and silver light, seemed floating before my closed eyes. A soft white cloud next appeared, which expanded and brightened, until by its light I beheld, bending over me, dim and indistinct, a form. It was the form of my beloved, but my eyes were closed, and I could not speak to her. The light grew stronger, and at length the whole room wherein I lay, dressed for the grave, was illuminated, and I beheld all things about me with the greatest distinctness. But my eyes were still closed, and I could not move hand nor foot. My wonder at this novel phenomenon was increased when I observed that my sight was not confined to the line of vision, or what would have been the line of vision had my eyes been open. I could see on both sides of me and behind me, through the back parts of my head, equally well, and at the same moment. But this peculiarity did not so much astonish me as another which now began to exhibit itself. The walls of my room seemed to grow transparent, and I saw the green fields without, and the groves, hills, dales, and streams, for miles away, flashing in the light of day. All sensation had now left me. I no longer felt the tears that fell upon my face, or heard with my ears the words spoken at my bedside, but I knew when they spoke, for I beheld the motion of their lips, and I understood what they said, for I felt their words sounding in my soul, like the silent voice of my own thoughts. How long this strange state lasted I know not, but at length all things vanished. I no longer saw the form of my beloved, the room in which I lay, nor the landscape without. A bright golden cloud seemed to overshadow them and me. I beheld them no more. Then I heard a voice speaking from out of the midst of the cloud, saying, "Blessed are all the children of death, for they shall be redeemed." I heard the words of the voice, and my soul was filled with awe within me, and I beheld amid the sea of golden light in which I seemed to float an angel standing beside me. His eyes were fixed upon mine, and his hand rested upon my brow. A strange numbness seized all my members, and looking steadfastly on the eyes of the angel, I became unconscious and knew no more. Slowly I returned to consciousness. The same golden light floated about me, but soon it rolled away like a curtain. The angel was gone, and I was yet in the room where I fell asleep. I stood upon my feet. Beside my bed and upon it lay my body, cold, motionless, and dead. Fear and surprise filled my soul. The novelty of my position terrified me. I knew not whether I was in the body or out of the body, whether the cold, pallid, motionless form that lay before me was myself, or whether it was I who stood upright beside, gazing upon it. I said, "I will solve this mystery. That body which is my own will obey the mandates of my will." I concentrated my mind, and tried to raise the cold, dead form which, clad in the garments of the grave, lay before me. I tried, by the power of my will, to make it sit up and look about, but my will had no power upon it. I raised my hand to my head. Ah! This body obeys the commands of my will. Yet what am I? Where am I? Exclaimed my soul in wonder and amazement. Someone now entered the room. It was my brother. I advanced to meet him. I spoke to him, but he neither saw me nor heard me, yet I stood close by his side and might have touched him. I was perplexed and troubled. Thoughts beyond the reach of my soul crowded upon me. I felt as though my reason was about to lose its seat. Then it was that I heard a voice saying, "Fear not." Thou art born again. I turned and beheld approaching, with smiling countenance, one whose form I had seen long years before consigned to the silent tomb. He clasped my hand, a divine welcome fell from his lips, and he drew me gently away.